Alright, I'm in my backyard tonight. There's our kitty. But our kitty has a friend. Alright guys, it is Tuesday, so I'm getting started on Steve's car here. So what I have done is I've used all metal, and all metal is an aluminum body filler, and I like using it on places where I've welded. The reason is, like, if you put like I cut this area out and I welded that back in after I straightened everything out, you know, I go through and I tack weld all those areas, and then I go back, and if there's any holes I can see, I tack weld them again and then grind it again. The problem is when you weld a panel in like that, you may have a little tiny spot. There's probably going to be a bunch of them, you know, holes that you didn't quite get. So I like to use the all metal in there, and then when you sand it down, there's like not hardly anything left in there, you know what I mean? But anyway, the all metal to me is a little bit more weather resistant, other than just using a plastic body filler that can get wet and expand and, you know, delaminate and stuff. So I have a quart here of this stuff, about a half a quart, and it's several years old, and it is very thick. It's definitely had some air to it, and it's very difficult to get mixed up. So some of it that I put on there didn't quite dry, and I had to scrape it back off. But anyway, I mixed up another batch and thoroughly mixed it up this time and got it spread on there, and I still need to mix some more and put on there. But I'm trying to save him money by not having to go buy a quart of all metal, because I want to say a quart's like 45 bucks or something stupid. It may be more than that. Anyway, I'm just trying to save him as much money as I can. But I've got more to put on. So the stuff, when it dries, it dries really hard, and it's pretty difficult to, if you was going to go in there and hand sand it, it would be pretty difficult to sand. So I'm just going to use an electric DA and call it a day, and then going to go in there and etch prime everything, all the bare metal areas, and over the top of the, you know, the all metal stuff. But I'm down to my last disc here, so I'm going to have to go buy a packet of that sandpaper for that, because I still got to do the bottom of the car. But anyway, I've got the etching primer here and all that other stuff to put on the trunk, so that's what I'm going to be doing. Once it's all sanded in here, I'm going to go ahead and etch prime that, and then I'll have to get on my back underneath the car and do all the bottom of the trunk. So this body is actually on a body cart that I made, and it's actually a chassis from a 56 Chevy sedan. This particular chassis came under my 55 hardtop when I bought it from that guy. He delivered it that way. It only had 2 body mount bolts in the back and 2 body mount bolts in the front. And the frame had already been painted, but the frame horn was bent down on it pretty bad, so I didn't end up using it. So I ended up cutting the whole front stub of the frame off, and then it worked good for a body cart. I did some supports down there and welded it all up, and I have casters on it, which right now I have it blocked up in the air so I can get to it real good. But anyway, it has casters up here that turn 360. The ones back there are stationary. But anyway, I can pull the car around and move it around on that body cart. That's actually a frame that supports these Tri-5s very well. So every time that I've used that, I've used it on my wife's car, I've used it on my car, and now I'm using it on Steve's car. Every time I use it, the rear frame rails are always in the way. So I ended up cutting the rear frame rails off. So now I have access to get in there and, you know, do work and paint and do all that stuff. So it ended up working out pretty good for me on that deal, because, you know, the main support of a car is going to be up here. And when I take a body off a frame, I do it with concrete blocks and 4x4 posts. And they always go, you know, with the back of the rocker back here and the front of the rocker up there. So this rear always hangs out in the wind. But now I've got a lot more room to get to it to work on it. And I think that's pretty cool, but I'm going to get to it. well, this is the none so great fitment of this reproduction trunk mat. I don't know how old this thing is, but I'm going to give you guys a little bit of advice on these trunk mats. These dry rot rather quickly. I bought one and within a year it was already like where the seams are coming apart. And this one's doing the same thing right here. So I don't know how long Steve's had this. I wouldn't think he's had it that long. It was rolled up, or in a square basically, but they're supposed to be pre-formed and stuff, and this one doesn't fit for crap. This car's been mini tubbed, as you can see by this high quality crap work right here, but I'm gonna have to go in here and trim this out. And the problem is, when I laid this out on the floor and was looking at it, the wheel cutout is further forward on the trunk mat than it is over here. So this doesn't even contour like it's supposed to. So this has a kind of a beaded or molded area right here for your gas fill thing. So this is exactly where this needs to be. Like I can feel the hump in the gas fill right here. And there's where the cutout for the latch is. Look how far forward the latch is. That's already coming apart here. Look at how dry rotted that is. When I pull it apart, you can see the cracks in it. These are junk, man. They're absolute garbage. But anyway, I'm going to have to trim the living crap out of this thing. And I don't know if that seam right there will ever come out of that. That's just where it was folded up for so long. I don't know how long it's been rolled up or whatever, but anyway, I just wanted to tell you guys that when you get these, they don't last very long. They don't last very long at all. But you know, I got to do some trimming and some cutting to get this to fit, and you know, it is what it is. But I got to have it. I got to put it in the trunk because I have to burn holes through it for the bolts to go through for the battery box. So this needs to be in here before I mount the battery box stuff. But man, that sucks. So I guess I'll get in here and mark this out. I might try to take a heat gun to this, but I'm afraid it might fall apart putting some heat to it. I don't know. Guess we'll find out. Another one of those jobs where you buy a part and expect it to fit, and of course it doesn't. And it's not because it was mini tubbed, it's because it doesn't fit the car worth of crap. cut it wider. It's like my neighbor's getting his motorcycle ready for the season. Alright, so I had to put 4 holes for the 4 bolts, and then there's 2 bigger holes, and that's for the battery cables to come up through. Got a main positive cable to come up from back here, and then this one's for the ground. It actually goes underneath to the frame. So that's pretty much all the trunk mat's done now, so I can go ahead and pull it out and roll it back up. So I went ahead and removed the latch plate from the trunk back here. When they restored this car, they never removed it. They left it in there. And then when they seam sealed across it, it sealed it on there. So I pulled it off because they painted the whole trunk and all with that bed coating, and it's all over that latch, with that, which I think is very cheesy. So I'm going to blast the latch, and I'm going to paint it a silver color. And I'll have to clean the bolts off on the wire wheel and paint them silver. I'll just reinstall it. But they were so excessive with their seam sealer here that it went way up and didn't even need to be up that far. It's going up the plate that's welded in here. So I'm just going to trim that off with a razor blade along that edge down there. So anyway, now the trunk is pretty much, I'll have to Scotch-Brite this. What I'm going to do is wrap the whole car in plastic, and then I got to back tape all this stuff because I got to do the bottom side of the trunk as well. But everything on top and bottom is etch primed. So once it's all plasticed up, I'm going to go through here and Scotch-Brite everything just to give the bedliner something to bite to, and I'll have Scotch-Brite the bottom. So anyway, I'm gonna, oh, I forgot I need to seam seal this first. I've got to seam seal this spare tire wheel top and bottom. So I've got to do that. I'm going to do that tomorrow morning. I'm letting this etching primer set a day before, because I already sanded this down again. I had this etch primed, and I went ahead and sanded it down with some 150 grit just to kind of smooth it a little bit better. It just wasn't, it didn't look very good. Anyway, so that etching primer, I kind of use it as a filler primer in a way, even though it's not that thick, you know what I mean? But anyway, I went back and recoated it again when I did the bottom. So anyway, this should end up looking pretty nice. I'll have to wrap the whole car and then coat it. All right, so I put the last coat of primer on yesterday. on the bottom and on top. So today I masked off the area, and I'm getting ready to do a 2-part seam sealer. And once I get it all put in there and smushed in with my finger, then I'm going to pull the tape, and what that'll do is give me a nice clean looking line instead of having it all smeared out, kind of like what they did here with this. But anyway, if it's something, you know, this part that I made and did, I want my part to look the best it can. So this is just what I'm going to do to get a cleaner line. So if you're ever doing seam sealer work, keep in mind when you try to make it flowy with your finger, it usually ends up sliming overboard a little bit off to the sides and usually makes a ripply, nasty looking mess. So if you go in and pre-mask it first, you'll end up with a decent line, a crisp edge. So All right, guys, so I'm having to redo this video clip because several hours ago I was pretty mad, and for people that like drama, they'd probably really like to see that video, but I ended up deleting it out of the GoPro. So I'm going to reshoot it. I'm going to have to go back through and explain all this. So the reason you haven't seen a video of Steve's car is I was trying to get the bed liner on the trunk, and show in all the video clips together that I have, which I don't have everything because I've already posted videos of it. I wanted to have a finished product for once at the end of the video. It would have been a great video, and it would have looked awesome. However, when I come out this morning, I was going to put the bed liner on his trunk today. When I come out here this morning, I seam sealed this yesterday about 9:15, 9:30 a.m. So I come out today, and it was after lunch, probably about 2 o'clock, and I put my finger right here, and when I lifted it up, seam sealer was on it. And it was stringy, gummy. So that 2-part seam sealer that I used never kicked off. And there's absolutely no reason for it. This is a 2-part seam sealer that I used. This is like JB Weld. It has an activator and a material. And you mix them together and it's supposed to kick. So I don't know if this is old, the person I got it from. I don't know if it was just old stock. I don't know. I don't know if it's been frozen. I don't have a clue. But I can tell you, I will never use this again because of what happened to me. So I bought this one to try to save Steve money. The ones that I like to get are these. Not necessarily the self-leveling one, but that little red logo right there over that one. So, anyway, for whatever reason, the stuff never dried. And it says right here, working time, 10 minutes. Set time, 15 minutes. Top coat time, 0. They're basically saying in the directions that you can put this on and immediately top coat it, and there's no way that I would ever do that. Even if it said it, I wouldn't do that. At least wait overnight. So, and that's exactly what I did. Yesterday morning I seam sealed it. Today I come out here to coat it, and it didn't work. So I had to end up going in here and digging all that out with a screwdriver and a pick and stuff, getting it all out of there. And then I used acetone on a microfiber and wiped it out the best I could. Then I used a small round wire wheel on the drill and went in there and dug it. And that wire wheel just chewed the crap out of the paint. So I ended up having to go back in and hand sand all this to feather edge it. So now I need to wipe it out. I'm going to mix up some more epoxy and spray it on there. And then tomorrow I'm going to come out and seam seal it, and I'm going to use the one that I'd actually bought over the summer for my wife's 55 4-door. This one was 65 bucks. That one right there I think was 45 bucks. So trying to save him money ended up costing me money. So I'm not going to be doing that again. But anyway, this is on me because I'm the one that bought the seam sealer. He didn't buy it, so that doesn't give me the right to charge him for doing it twice. So I'm not happy about it, but I know there's some shops that probably would do that, but I'm not going to. So anyway, I've got to reprime this, and then after tomorrow I will seam seal it, and then the day after that I'm going to go in there and slightly scuff everything and then bed line it. So hey, this sucks, man. And I still got to get it dug out of the bottom of the car on the spare tire wheel. I've seam sealed the bottom too. So I'm going to have to dig that out of there. But I should have done that already, but I'm not. I'm just going to go ahead and do the top, and then I'll do the bottom. So anyway, I'm not too happy about it, but it is what it is. It's got to be fixed, you know what I mean? And then in other news, the Rust-Oleum, I had like a quart left in that gallon can. And it's been on my shelf for years, and I wasn't sure if it was any good anymore. So I ended up stirring it up real good, and I set the stirring stick out. I don't know what I ended up doing. I probably threw it away. But it never really hardened. So I'm not going to use it because it's not any good. So I've got a brand new gallon down here of Duplicolor bed liner. I had bought that one for my wife's 55 4-door to do the bottom of her car. So I don't know what I spent on that. Now, I was going to give him the Rust-Oleum because it was here and it was been on the shelf for a few years, trying to save him money. But I'm not donating like 80 or 90 or however much that gallon was. I'm not doing that. So, you know, he's going to have to pay for that. I hate to do that, but, you know, I can't use stuff that I bought for my wife's car on his car and not charge him for it, and then I have to end up buying it again. That's not way it works, you know what I mean? So anyway, I'm going to be using the Duplicolor bed liner on here. So anyway, I don't know how much of it I'm going to use, but you know, it's obviously not going to take a whole gallon, which I might put quite a bit in the trunk floor back here to give it a little bit more sound deadening aspect, but I'll just have to see how it goes. I don't want to put too much on at the same time, because then I'll have the same problem with it not ever drying. So anyway, I'm going to show you all how I'm going to do this, and I've done this before, so don't laugh. This does work. So I have, this is the gun that you would use for like Raptor liner. The little bottles screw into it. This is referred to as a Schutz gun. So when I use these roll-on or brush-on bed liners like this, I just put a piece of hose on the end of it, and I hold the can in my left hand, holding on to the little metal handle, and then the hose actually will go between my fingers, so I'm holding the hose down in the can, and then I use my right hand to spray it with. So it works just the same. So that's how I'll do that. Now, I always do 120 psi right straight out of the compressor. So some people will turn their pressure down, but bed liner looks better the higher the pressure, in my opinion, the roll-on style stuff. So now I need to answer my phone, but you guys get the idea. So I'm going to go ahead and post this video. So now you know what I'm up against. Thanks for watching.